yes, listen. There's a lot of talk about the Super League. Let me just load up Football Manager as well, because obviously we've got big issues over there. There's been a lot of talk about the Super League, right? Maybe I'll go in more detail, but oh my days, MC. Spurs have rejected it. So I was expecting like there's going to be some kind of divide. Like I thought the Spanish and Italian teams will back it all the way. I can't lie. I'm very surprised that like Inter didn't back it. But hear me out. So the important thing to clarify, because I think a lot of people aren't understanding this, particularly Prem-tards. The Super League is not going to affect the Premier League in any way, shape or form. The Super League is not going to affect the domestic leagues in any way, shape or form. The Super League would just come in to replace the Champions League, Europa League and the Conference League, right? So I've seen a lot of comments from Prem-tards. It doesn't affect the Premier League in any way. Now, what I find very surprising with this, Chelsea have made a statement. What I find very surprising with all of this, yeah, so it's clear that the Premier League teams have just released the communication. Then they're saying that they're okay. So now this is all to me a bunch of hypocrisy, right? This is a bunch of hypocrisy because every single one of them joined the very first version, which was 10 times worse than what the new and proposed Super League is. So like something isn't making sense. So like I said, the new Super League does not affect domestic leagues in any way. Now, what the Super League, the problem that the Super League is looking to address is the fact that the Champions League, let's get one thing straight. The Champions League is the biggest competition in the world. Prem-tards. It's not the Premier League, it's the Champions League. So if the Champions League is the biggest competition in the world, then how are the likes of Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Luton making more than what most Champions League teams are making? Because UEFA are keeping the money to themselves. That's the problem that the Super League is looking to address. There's like all this talk I've seen today, for some reason they think it's the same as the original format. The original format was fucked up. This new version of the Super League, the format of it is actually pretty good. I don't know if you guys have seen it, because I'm assuming you haven't, because as always you guys talk, but you don't actually know what is happening. So I have a feeling this isn't the last we're going to hear of this. Why? Because money dictates. At the end of the day, the new Super League benefits the Premier League teams, it benefits everybody. It benefits all the clubs. So I'm certain eventually this is going to go through with what they propose. The format. This was it. Blah, blah, blah.
A league stage and a knockout stage.
So this format is cold, right? It's colder than the new Champions League format. So I'm very surprised why this has been received as negative.
64 participating clubs divided into 3 leagues: Star, Gold and Blue. The Star League consists of 16 clubs divided into 2 groups of 8.
Cold.
It's the same for the Gold League: 16 clubs, 2 groups of 8. The Blue League will have clubs split into 4 groups of 8. During the league stage, clubs play each other within their groups, home and away. That's 14 matches per club each season, 7 at home, 7 away. The top 4 clubs in each group of the Star and Gold Leagues and the top 2 clubs in each group
it's what I discussed the other day.
You mixed them for the knockout round, starting with the quarter-final. The quarter and semi-final consist of a 2-legged knockout round, home and away. The final will be played on neutral ground. The knockout round finals winners will be the Blue League, Gold League and Star League champions. Our proposal is built around sporting merit. Promotion, relegation, and exit from the competition happen each season.
This is the key part that people miss.
The bottom of each group of the Star League will be relegated and replaced by the 2 Gold League finalists.
This is what makes this code.
The same system applies in the Gold League. The last club of each group will be relegated and replaced by Blue League finalists. In the Blue League, 20 out of the 32 clubs will leave the competition altogether and be replaced by clubs depending on their domestic league performance. This system ensures mobility within and across leagues. And as matches will be played midweek, this format is completely compatible with domestic leagues. This proposed format for football will guarantee openness, competitive tension, and success based on sporting merit. It is one competition for all clubs, all players, and all fans.
So, like I said, and they also mentioned that the games will be free to watch, which again, people are not mentioning. So what's happening, yet again, is people didn't actually read, and they just went off what the original Super League was, which was a complete shit show, and all the clubs, including Premier League clubs, were willing to join that shit show. So for all these Premier League clubs to come out and say that this isn't fair doesn't make any sense.
These bums are trying to ruin football.
No, they're not. This is again, I understand you English people, you are very much scared of change. The Premier League doesn't get touched. Your league stays as it is. Nobody's touching your league. I don't understand. Either people didn't go through this properly, or which is obviously the case, because this is infinitely better than what the current Champions League, the new Champions League format especially, is going to be, and Europa League 2 conference. Now, there's two problems that I see. I have 2 concerns. I'm not saying I don't have concerns. I do have 2 concerns. One thing I don't like with this, when I thought about it and dissected, was that let's say Aston Villa win the Premier League, right? Hypothetically, let's say Aston Villa win the Premier League. They will not go in the Star League. They will go in the Blue League if they haven't ever been here, right? Which kind of doesn't make that much sense to me. But the counterpoint to that, though, is let's say Aston Villa or let's say West Ham win the Europa League, but they do really bad domestically. With this new version, if they do really well in the Europa League, they may get promoted to the Star League, even if they done bad domestically. So there is counterpoints to it. There are pros and cons to it. But that's a bit of a concern of mine. Number 2, and probably the biggest concern I have with this, is that the 3 founding members of the Super League are Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus. The 3 clubs that have cheated the most in football history. Are those 3 clubs that we can trust? How do we know that there's no corruption in the Super League? That's my biggest concern. But everything else, and people talking about sporting integrity, I'm struggling to understand, because the format is infinitely better than what UEFA have. Now, UEFA aren't trustworthy either. So all these people defending UEFA, but that's something I will never do, as you know, E.T. But to me, I don't know why people are shitting on the Super League, because if the Super League launched with this originally, it would have gone through with all the clubs. It would have gone through. Now, here's my problem. I would even take it one step further, but they're not. They're keeping domestic leagues as they are. But let me tell you why I don't care. You sit there on your high horse and you talk about sporting integrity. These clubs are talking about sporting integrity. What sporting integrity? The Premier League, the La Liga, the Serie A, the Bundesliga, the Ligue 1, they're boring. They're getting boring every single year. They're not.
Prime Ramos or Prime Thiago Silva.
How can you call the league good when there's only between maximum 6 clubs that can ever win it? Maximum. The Leicester days are gone. That's never happening again. Girona, obviously, they can be an exception. We'll see. I doubt it. If it happens, it's going to happen once every 100 years. We're never seeing this again. You can't sit there and talk about sporting integrity when, if you're a fan of like an Everton, if you're a fan of like a Southampton, if you're a fan of Crystal Palace, you know in your lifetime you have no chance of ever seeing your club win the league. So what's the point? You want to talk about sporting integrity, bring in the salary cap. Then we can talk. Then I'm interested in domestic leagues. If you're not going to regulate it, I'm sorry, I'm losing interest. I would rather watch a Super League. Because then at least it's more of an even playing field. Why the fuck should I sit here and be excited about Luton against Arsenal when Arsenal can outspend Luton by God knows what and have their salary cap 10 times more than Luton's? It's getting boring. Originally, leagues were not supposed to be like this. Leagues were supposed to be where every team has a chance to win it at the start. Some leagues, there's only one team that's going to win it. And that's where we're heading. I'm bored. So, I don't see the people sitting on their high horse. I don't get it. But whatever. That's another topic. That's my 2 cents. To me, like I said, if you're going to stick with these domestic leagues, if you're going to push them, which they are anyways, let's start regulating them. That's what I'm saying.